Hey, I'm back. Hello, number one, and welcome to Metatron's Academy. Check this out. Today, I'm Detective Metatron, and I am beginning an investigation. So this channel is called Language of Earth, and you may remember this channel due to the fact that I made a few highly transformative commentary videos. I'm not going to say reactors, going to summon the lynch mob. So anyways, what's interesting about this channel is that, first and foremost, it's dead. Defunct, deceased, terminated. Literally, the last time they posted that video was 1 year ago, which in internet time it's like an epoch, eons away. Anyways, today I found a video, kind of wanted to provide commentary over it, see if we can learn a few things. But before we do that, the reason why I called it an investigation is the following. So I noticed one thing. Look at this lady. Look at the American lady, right? Because there's a bunch of actors, I suppose, and paid professional, whatever the heck. Look at the American lady. Explain to me how she hasn't changed one bit since 5 years ago. Nothing. She didn't age. She didn't change her weight. She looks the same. 5 years. Are they AI? Well, I'll leave you to that, and in the meantime, I'm going to check out this video. Spanish versus Italian versus French versus Portuguese. Let's see if I understand everything.
Uno.
Uno.
Up to this point, very nice.
Deux.
Dos.
Due.
Dois.
Very nice. So that's the numbers. Can we have something more interesting than the freaking number? There we go. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Chat.
Gatto. Gatto.
Gato.
All right. So let's examine these. Clearly, as usual, French is kind of the one that is less similar than the others. The other three are clearly more related. But that being said, they all come from Latin catus. So even though the French just put the T here as a Christmas decoration, but they don't pronounce it, which kind of exemplifies 95% of their writing system, still, chat. There is a C. Even though it's not pronounced that way because there's an H after it and whatever, we could discuss how French developed a certain way. And of course, there is certain Germanic to it, the R being an example. But look at this, there is still the C, while all the other languages have evolved from a C to a G. And interestingly enough, English preserves that C. When you say cat, it's still from Latin catus. So, gatto and gatto, almost identical between Spanish and Italian. The only difference is that due to the fact that we have double T, the song is longer. Technically, it's longer. I prefer to see it as stronger as a native speaker, but I understand that linguistically it's a longer sound. So gatto becomes gatto. It's like there is a little pause and then a little jump, if you will. Just one way to say it. And then Portuguese, while it's spelled the same as Spanish, the O to my ear sounds like a U. Let's listen to it again.
Chat.
Gatto. Gatto.
Gato.
Yep, gato. And obviously they have, I believe she's Brazilian. Maybe in this case I would have used a Portuguese just to keep it within European, because of course I personally love Brazilian Portuguese, but I was saying since we are discussing differences, maybe it would have been more I could make that, but let's see what the next animal is anyways. We'll work with what we have.
Cheval.
Cavallo. Cavallo.
Cavalo.
Okay, now the way he pronounced the double L sounds Latin American, because I believe that in Castilian Spanish from Spain, please correct me if I'm wrong, this would have been pronounced a bit like a Y. So something like caballo, caballo, caballo. I'm not actually sure. Yeah, in Italian, of course, cavallo. Cheval, you could think of the word chevalier. They're all clearly related. And then we have, does she pronounce the V? I believe she does, doesn't she? Let's listen to them again for a more precise analysis.
Cheval.
Cavallo. Cavallo.
Cavalo.
Yeah, we all do the V. Even the one in Spanish, even though it's a B, in pronunciation is a V, at least in this version. And one last thing I wanted to say is that, of course, the double L in Italian is just pronounced as a longer / stronger version of the single L. So, cavallo. If this was spelled with one L in Italian, I would read it cavallo. So can you tell the difference? Let's try it again and let me know in the comments. One L, cavallo, doesn't exist. 2L, cavallo. Thank you. Hello. What you looking at? As you know, we have created a Metatron plushie for all of our fans and supporters, and we are really trying to hit 200 sales. We are 79% funded, and we have to hit 200 to be able to ensure the production. If you watching this right now were to get a plushie, we would hit 160, and then we would only be 40 short of ensuring production. If you like my content, please consider supporting me by getting a plushie today. Thank you so much.
Tortue.
Tortuga.
Tartaruga.
Tartaruga.
Hey, Portuguese and Italian exactly the same. Tartaruga. Yeah, tu, that's the U that I was telling you about. And of course, tortuga. I think, so tortuga, well, obviously the one in Portuguese is the easiest one to understand for me as an Italian speaker. Tortuga is not difficult though. If I heard someone say tortuga, I would still recognize it, particularly if it's placed into context. Tortue is harder though, because I could think she's saying torture. If I don't have, with context, I could recognize the stem. But without, like for instance, I bought 2 turtles from the local pet shop. They are green and cute. I mean, yeah, at that point, I'll recognize it. But if you just give me the word without context, I could get confused if I wasn't familiar with it. So yeah, no, this is the word for turtle. In fact, we say, for ninja turtles, we say tartarughe ninja in Italian. So once again, if you are a French, Spanish or Portuguese native speaker, please let me know in the comments, how do you guys say ninja turtles? Thank you.
Requin.
Tiburón.
Squalo.
Tubarão.
Okay, this is the one that it doesn't matter if you belong to the Romance language family, you're not gonna recognize this. So yes, in Italian we say squalo. Requin, did she say? 0. Tiburon, nothing. Tubarão, absolutely impossible. It's interesting that these two begin with a T, so there must be a common ancestor. What's the word in Latin? How about we check that one out? Because I currently don't remember. I remember reading about the ancient Romans fish farming, sharks in the coasts near Rome. That's a thing, believe it or not. However, what is the word for it? Okay, great. So it has nothing to do with it whatsoever. Here it is. So allegedly it's pistris.
P-I-S-T-R-I-S.
What the heck? Thank you for that. You just did the spelling. Let's go into actual Google Translate, because that one is even more accurate usually. No. Okay, there we go. So in Latin, it is squalus.
Squalus.
So Italian is the closest. If there are other ways, I can see here a few other translations. Any of these that could be connected? I'm actually enjoying this video very much.
Rouge.
Rojo.
Rosso.
Vermelho.
I would not recognize this. Vermelho. I would not recognize it. Sounds cool. Vermilion. In fact, it makes me think of, maybe you could if you know English, I guess. Rouge and rojo are so famous that I think we can all recognize them. And interesting, as you see, ro, in theory is the same, but because there is a U, it's read rouge. And yeah, rojo, rosso is how we say it. It's also a very famous Italian surname. If you do it, change it into plural, Rossi, reds. It's a typical surname in Italy, particularly in the north. Signor Rossi, Mr. Reds, basically.
Orange.
Naranja.
Arancione.
Laranja.
Right, so I think I would recognize laranja, because it makes me think of the orange, the fruit, which in Italian is arancia. But the color, we actually say arancione. Naranja is a little difficult for me because it's starting with an N. Orange, very easy, I think, so famous.
Jaune.
Amarillo.
Giallo.
Amarelo.
So amarillo, or how he said it, amarillo, I guess it depends on the type you speak. It is so different. How about we check Latin for this as well and see what the heck happened here? Because I wouldn't recognize any, except for my own language. Okay, so flavus is the one in Latin as one of the, and interestingly enough, this is a word that we find, so none of us, I guess, right? Yeah, whatever. What's interesting about this is that we do have this in names, like the name Flavio is most likely connected to this etymology, and it's used by the Latins, the Romans, to describe people's hair color. So when someone is blonde, they usually say they are flavus, their hair, so Germanic tribes or Celtic tribes. And for some emperors, like Octavian or Octavianus Augustus, they use a subcategory that they call subflavus for his hair, which most likely means light brown.
Vert.
Verde.
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 All right, so here, vert. They're all recognizable. They all have the same stem, right? The difference between, for instance, Spanish and Italian, at least in this case, is a matter of regional variety, because the way he said it, verde, it appears to have open e in both slots. So if you notice, this Italian speaker instead used closed vowels. He said verde rather than verde. So let me repeat them again. Close, verde. Open, verde. It might be difficult, but you can rewind a few times if you want. But there are some speakers that open it and say verde, just like the Spanish guy, mostly in the south. So it really depends on how, like, the regional variety. These might be identical, or there might be a slight difference in vowel quality. She said vergi, didn't she?
Vert.
Verde.
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 Yeah, vergi. Once again, a characteristic of Brazilian Portuguese. If you are a Portuguese speaker, how would you pronounce this?
Bleu.
Azul.
Blu.
Azul.
All right, so I like how he is very, like, definitive. That's how you say it. So bleu and blue, interestingly enough, Italian has two ways to say blue. Well, actually, it has multiple, but let's start with the ones that are almost identical. So in Italian, you can say blu or you can say ble. Ble now, I think, is gone extinct. But when I was a teenager, like 13, 14, there were still some older generation speakers that would say that. And I do remember going to, like, a store to buy a pen. And so we're like, do you have ball pens? And the guy was like, yeah, do you want it? And he said, vuoi la penna nera o ble? And we said, blue, which wasn't an option. But I mean, it's the same thing. It's just that, yeah, ble is almost entirely gone, but basically was the way, I think we got it from French and just pronounced it our own way. So it's very recognizable to me, but it sounds archaic. When it comes to azul or azul, if you want to use the interdental for the Madrid pronunciation, and azul, and she seems to have a dark L at the end. It didn't really sound fully enunciated. We do have a word that is very similar to this, and it's azzurro, which is in fact the word that we use for our football team. They are called gli azzurri, the blue, because of the color of the team, Italian football club or soccer, but we don't call them blue. It's azzurri. So what's the difference? Well, in Italian, azzurro is light blue, and then if it's even lighter than that, it would be celeste. Celeste having a connection to the sky as the word cielo, which means sky, from Latin caelo, cielo, celis. So we do have this as well, and so I can recognize it. Do you guys have anything in Spanish or Portuguese that is in fact closer to blue and perhaps you don't use it? Let me know in the comments.
Tigre.
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 Wow. Okay, so once again, Italian and Spanish, the same. French just decided to stop over here. They went for tigre, and clearly there is the uvular R. Although then again, that's kind of a modern development. I know that we associate the r of raisin, rodin, Paris, we do associate it with the French as if it's kind of ubiquitous thing, that's how the French speak and have always spoken. But the reality is that, for instance, if we were to listen to medieval French, their R's would be rolled. Same with English, by the way, whether it be Anglo-Saxon or whether it be Middle English, the R's were rolled. And so this transformation, in the case of English, it went from a R to a R, at least at the beginning of words first, and then eventually all R's were changed into the modern R, and then there was the split between rhotic and non-rhotic accent, in the sense that there are some that would say tiger and some that would say tiger, and the first one being rhotic, the second one being non-rhotic. But even before that, there was just a regular trilled or rolled R, which is in fact the most common way on the planet to pronounce this sound. When it comes to Spanish and Italian, of course, we pronounce it the same, but as I was saying, in French, it's kind of a modern thing. And as far as I understand, they got it from German royalty, which is why, in High German at least, they have pretty much the same uvular R. When they say warum, 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 it's kind of the same sound, isn't it? Not all German speakers use it, some just trill it, but just to say. Portuguese, of course, it was the only different one because instead of a T, it sounded like a ch, but that's once again because it's the Brazilian variety. So do keep that in mind.
Tigre.
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 Okay, so tigre, 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 cigri. So even the e at the end is a e in this version. Cigri.
Ours.
Oso.
Orso.
Urso.
Okay, so this is another one. Man, I actually like this a lot when it comes to historical linguistics. So, ur is French because obviously O and U is the way the French language produces the sound U. Because if you only had a U, this would be pronounced U. So it would become urs. I mean, it doesn't exist, of course, but I'm just saying it's if you just have the U, une. So it's a U. And so if you want the full U, then you need OU, right? So this becomes ur. Now, I did not know that in Spanish they drop the R. As you see, we keep it in both Italian and Portuguese. Also in Spanish, urso, in Italian, and then she said ursu.
Lion.
Let me hear it again.
Oso.
Orso.
Urso.
Yep, ursu is how she says it. Isn't it interesting how languages work like that? Literally, the U and the O, even though they're two different symbols, they sound the same. At least in Portuguese in this instance.
Lion.
León.
Leone.
Leão.
Oh, wow, this is another one that I like. So look how the two languages in the southern section, let's call it, are now presenting very much their nasalized sounds, whereas these sounds are not really present in they do exist, but they're a lot less common. So we have leon and leone, Italian just fully pronouncing every single letter in there like your life depends on it. And then you have lion and then leon. I don't know if I pronounce it right, but I've been practicing a little bit, but basically the presence of this creates the nasalized sound, but it's so characteristic of Portuguese that it's something that needs to be practiced. I do have a dedicated video of me practicing it and failing.
Lion.
León.
Leone.
Leão.
Singe.
Mono.
Scimmia.
Macaco.
Wow, this is where we start to see this. So, what? Did she say singe? Singe. I have never heard of. I would have not recognized it. And interestingly enough, for the first time here, I would have not recognized the word in Spanish, mono. Yeah, we say scimmia, so it has nothing to do whatsoever. When the one used in Portuguese here, macaco, yeah, it's a type of monkey, so we would say macaco. I imagine the same exists in all other languages, in fact. So I do wonder if this is some selective bias when it comes to the people putting together the video. So if you're a Portuguese speaker, do you have a more generalized or sort of an umbrella term for the word monkey? Or do you actually use macaco as the umbrella term? Because as I say, in Italian, it does exist, but it's a specific kind of, so kind of a subcategory of scimmia being a much larger, there is more than that. So yeah, scimmia is like monkey, I guess. Do we have a word for ape? I think we still use scimmia, to be honest, for that.
Éléphant.
Elefante.
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 It sounded like a P. Was it just me? Or did he say elefante? That's strange, though. Why would he pronounce it like a P? I need to listen to it again. So she says elephant. Of course, we have an elefanci in this variety. Elefante in Italian. Let's go.
Éléphant.
Elefante.
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 It must be a mistake in the pronunciation, unless as a native speaker you can tell me, no, Metatron, we actually do pronounce it like a P. It sounds a bit like a P, but I think it's a recording problem. I don't see any reason in Spanish to read this as a P. It has to be an F, unless it's me and I'm hearing it wrong.
Violet.
morado,
viola,
roxo,
All right, that's another one. So confusing that they say roxo for purple. And then again, is this purple? Yes, but you also have violet in English. And there may be a difference depending on the speaker, depending on the level of technicality. If you want to say that it's that purple that is closer to red, or is it that purple that is closer to blue? So yeah, in Italian, as you see, this is viola. And in fact, in Italian, if you use the word porpora, which has the same stem as purple, it's the one that is closer to red. It's a type of red, if you will. So this, for me, it's definitively viola. But if I were to speak English, I would call it purple. And yeah, so violet, we can say violetto, by the way, in Italian. So we can make it a lot closer to French and actually do pronounce the T's because we care about our letters. But when do we use it? Well, we use it for ultraviolet. There you go. Light, I guess. Very, very rarely you can use it for the color, but generally speaking, people just call it viola, which is also a girl's name. Morado, I wouldn't recognize it. I would think it's something on dark because of moro. I would think it's something dark, so this would confuse me very much. And this, I would think she's saying red. So this is fascinating. Let's do one more.
rose,
rosado,
rosa,
rosa,
Okay, so all connected, obviously. I would like to open a moment to discuss this. Isn't it interesting how in English you have blue and then the lighter configuration, you still call it blue. You say light blue. You don't have a separate term. You don't consider it a separate color. Yet with red you do, because pink, and so do we, but pink is just light red. So why do we give light red a separate color and name, but we don't do it with light blue or light green? Or maybe light green if you say lime, I guess, but then again, you know what I mean. Anyways, so yeah, rosé. And when it comes to the Italian pronunciation, either you pronounce it rosa or you pronounce it rosa. The S, in both cases, it's a fricative, but is it using your vocal cords or not? Are they vibrating or not? That depends on the region. So in general, you can choose, depending on what you want. The Z sound is more common in the north, and the S sound is more common in central and southern Italy. For her, she said rosa, so the R was basically an aspirated H. Does that mean she has a Carioca accent? Let me know in the comments if I'm right or wrong. Alright, for the rest of the video, please refer to the original channel. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching and joining Metatron's Academy. If you're interested in the etymology and connection to Latin, I can make my own video about that, so let me know in the comments. Bye! Hello number ones and welcome to Metatron's Academy, and today we are back. Hello number ones and welcome to Metatron's Academy. Check this out. Today, I'm Detective Metatron, and I am beginning an investigation. So this channel is called Language of Earth, and you may remember this channel due to the fact that I made a few highly transformative commentary videos. I'm not going to say reactors, I'm going to summon the lynch mob. The lynch mob. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much. Sumerian society